Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And welcome to another edition of our Dailyish Devotionals. I am Pastor Brian. I thank you for joining us this morning. You may be looking at my Hawaiian t-shirt in my Hawaiian shirt here, and I'm looking pretty festive, and that's because uh, we're going to talk about Christmas today. No, not because there is a Christmas in December, Christmas in July marathon going on the Hallmark channel, where Tracy forces us all at 7 o'clock each evening to sit down and to begin to watch the shows together. I think it might be her way of getting back at us for the Spaceballs and other movies that we made her watch with us. But when there's something on TV that she wants to watch and thinks would be good for the family, she becomes a taskmaster and makes us all sit lined up on the couch paying attention. No electronic devices needed, simply to that movie. And we are riveted to those Hallmark movies because you just never know who's going to fall in love. You don't know how the story's going to end, and it's just different every time, and it's amazing. That's all a bunch of lies. There is December or Christmas in July on the Hallmark Channel. Tracy does not make us all watch them. She's way too kind-hearted for that. And the plots aren't all different, right? Man, woman, busy exec moves out to idyllic town, falls in love with local baker. They live happily ever after. No one considers the poor fiance back in big city who had a whole life plan together and is like, oh, bam, hey, rebound relationship. Here we go, gonna work out great. Rabbit hole, I don't need to get down it, so I'm sorry. Shouldn't have even got there. 80s movies, you better know what this one is, and I hope you have seen it. The Princess Bride. I mean, we've got Andre the Giant, we've got Fezzik, we've got Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. I mean, he's looking for the six-fingered man. And then, of course, true love between Prince Buttercup and the prince there, who I can't remember his name right now. It's got Billy Crystal. I mean, he's not completely dead, he's mostly dead. As You Wish. Okay, enough lines from that movie. They really drives my family nuts when I quote lines from movies while we're watching them. But I think this is one that only got a 1 This Is Stupid from Tracy as we watched it. So in her movie rating scale, that's not bad, actually. So you need to watch this movie. It's a love tale or a love story, maybe the greatest love story. It blows any Hallmark love story completely out of the water. And of course, the first youth minister fired because he broke all 10 commandments. As I said, we're going to talk about Christmas, the arrival of Jesus here on earth as a human. Max begins his first chapter titled The Arrival, and it's not a terrible movie starring Charlie Sheen. It begins from the innkeeper's perspective, waking up the next morning and beginning his business. Bethlehem is busy because everyone's coming home for the census, so all the inns are packed, and of course business is good, and he imagines the innkeeper and his family will be sitting around the breakfast table, and he wonders, did they ask about the young pregnant woman and her fiance that they turned away last night as they arrived on a donkey? Did anyone inquire about how they were or what happened to them? And he imagines probably not, because they were so busy getting prepared for the day. There was lots of work to do. So it's doubtful that anyone mentioned the couple's arrival or wondered about the condition of the girl. They were simply too busy. The day was upon them. Morning chores had to be done. There was too much to do to imagine that the impossible had occurred, that God had entered the world as a baby. Now, not that they were to know that this pregnant woman was delivering a baby, but maybe if they would have had some time in their busy schedule to check, maybe turn a pregnant couple away. I don't know how things turned out. But like most days, you get started in the routine and forget to check in. Max describes the condition of the birth in a stable, of course, things like they all do, the stench of animals and what they do. And he has one line, sheep reeks. The stench of urine, dung, and sheep reeks in the air. Cobwebs cling to the ceiling and a mouse scurries across the floor. The ground is hard and the hay is scarce, and this is the lowly, this place of the birth, and it's where Jesus came and chose to be born. He imagines Mary and Joseph, probably Joseph taking a quick nap after the excitement and the stress and the travel, and knowing that the baby and Mary are okay. and Mary wide awake staring down at the face of her baby. He imagines her thinking he looks anything but a king, like anything but a king. His face is prunish and red. His cry, though strong and healthy, is still the helpless and piercing cry of a baby, and he is absolutely dependent on Mary for his well-being. Majesty in midst of the mundane, holiness in the filth of sheep manure and sweat, divinity entering the world on the floor of a stable, through the womb of a teenager and the presence of a carpenter. This baby had once overlooked the entire universe, and now chose to be born and to become one of us. Meanwhile, the city hums. Merchants are unaware that God has visited their planet. The innkeeper would never believe that he had just sent God out into the cold when he turned that couple away. People would scoff at anyone who told them the Messiah lay in the arms of a teenager on the outskirts of their village. They were all too busy to consider the possibility. Those who missed His Majesty's arrival that night missed it not because of evil acts or malice. No, they missed it because they simply weren't looking. Then Max ends, not much has changed in 2,000 years. How much do we miss seeing the presence or experiencing the presence of God or Jesus or the Spirit in our lives simply because we aren't looking? Do you look for the work of God in the mundane? Or is it simply taken for granted? We don't expect God to show up in the big, audacious and the big events in our lives. What about the mundane? Waking up every morning next to your spouse, kissing your spouse goodnight each night, seeing your kids make breakfast, off to school, if that ever gets to happen again. Phone call from family or friends that you expect to happen each night. Being able to go to work, just seeing friends or talking to friends. The mundane, everything's that happen. Ever consider that maybe there's the work of Christ in those? I give Tracy a hard time every once in a while, used as examples in sermons. But truly, she is the gift of Christ to our family. No, I'm not saying she is Jesus, although if we're ranking family members who's closest, she would probably be at the top. But just what she brings to her family and the unconditional love, the stability, keeping us boys from all doing dumb boy things. It's easy to take for granted that and see that and not see the work of Jesus in bringing her into my life and then bringing the boys in and just how our family seems to work. It's easy to take for granted a lot of the stuff that we have, a lot of the people that we have in our lives, and not see the work of Jesus in them. How about we take a second or a minute and not take them for granted? Tell them thank you. To give them a call and say, I appreciate what you've done, do, always have done, and will continue to do for me. Maybe look for Jesus in the mundane and see the arrival of that love, and see that love that is shared that maybe are too busy sometimes to see.